I'm not gonna lie, I never saw that intro before. That was actually pretty good. But welcome back to Keeping It 9450, codename WBB. Today we have none other than Meghan Hall of USA Today with us to just talk some hoops. Meghan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous for a Monday. I'll take it.
Absolutely. Um, so you went to All Star Weekend. What was that? Last week, the week before last?
One of them
How
days.
was it in Indianapolis? How was it? Was this your first All Star Weekend experience? How was it overall?
Yeah, so it was my first All-Star experience, and I definitely felt like a rookie because I was exhausted every day. I don't think I went to bed before 1 a.m. any
Hmm.
night I was out there. And I mean, I don't think I had a moment to like really like breathe. Like I would go back to my hotel room, lay down for 20 minutes just to like charge my battery and back up again. But it was cool. I'll take that experience 10 out of 10. It was great to meet so many people that I either like follow, or either they follow me. It was great, obviously, to see fans. Great to to get to see the players relax, have some fun, that sort of thing.
Right.
So overall, Indianapolis was great. I do it all over again. So hey, USA Today, if you're listening, I'll go back next year if you'll have me. But yeah, it was great. It was fantastic.
I agree because I went last year in Phoenix and that was my first time actually going from like the media side. And I agree 100%. It's zero sleep the entire weekend because it's always events, it's parties, it's just always something, the actual game, like it's just always something going on. So I was actually exhausted when I came back home from Phoenix because you literally don't get any rest probably until you get home. And I know you have children. Like I have a child, and so a mother's job is never done. So I'm sure it wasn't much rest when you got home either.
Not at all. I think, yeah, I took Monday and Tuesday off, thankfully. And
Smart.
by Wednesday, I finally started to feel like a human being again. But like none of that really mattered to my children. They were just like, "Oh, mom, you've been gone for 4 days. Great, fantastic. We have all these things that we want you to
Right.
do with us. It's like
Right.
like sleep. What is that? We
Right.
don't want you to do that." So yeah, I mean, I will say, like, thankfully, I was smart enough to take those couple of days off because I was no good for anybody at all.
Yes. So for those that don't know, Megan covers the Atlanta Dream. And so it's been rumblings of possibly having the next All-Star game in Las Vegas, but I've been seeing on the timeline you, K Dot, and some other some other folk, lobbying for the uh for the All-Star weekend to happen in Atlanta. So just tell me your thoughts on that. Why do you think Atlanta would be a great city to have All-Star weekend? And if you had to pitch it, how would it go?
Oh my gosh, you're gonna put me on the spot here. All right, so I'm gonna start by saying this is totally biased because I live here. So just
Absolutely.
take this with some of this with a grain of salt. But I would say first things first, we just hosted the MLB All-Star, which that's a pretty big deal, right? To be able to host that big of an event here in the city. So you
Mhm.
had that, but not only that, like not a lot of people know there was so much going on across the city. You had MLB All-Star, Beyonce was here, WWE, there was another concert. Like there was so much happening in the city at once and Atlanta handled it pretty well. So, hey, Atlanta can do events. And in my mind, I was like, all right, I get that, hey, there's rumors that we potentially want to go back to Vegas, but Atlanta can host this. And not only that, like, I think it's a really good time for us to kind of, I would say, give the South a chance to shine. A lot of the things that I hear and I've heard from players is, for example, hey, we want more teams in the South. You get Houston is a big, name that we hear.
Mhm.
We get Miami and those sorts of things. You get Charlotte, all those names that come up. And so in my mind, I was like, clearly there's some like, there's some agenda being pushed here. Maybe not out loud, but there's some agenda being pushed here that Atlanta could be there. So this is my pitch. Come to Atlanta. We can do things right. There's plenty of events, plenty of parties here all the time. And, if
Absolutely.
that's your thing during All Star, like, there's plenty of things to be here. I would also say this is that, like, anybody who has visited Atlanta for an event, or I've never heard them come back and say, "Oh no, I had a terrible time in Atlanta.
I
It was
agree.
awful." like it's very rare that there's food, there's culture, there's basketball here, sports. Like Mecca is here. I definitely think that it should be here.
I agree. I also have never heard anyone say that they had a bad time in Atlanta. And you can pretty much do everything there. You know, like you said, the parties are there. They have it. Well, I will say if they do have it in Atlanta, they would have to have it at the bigger arena because it's going to be too many people to fit in the, smaller and intimate arena.
Yeah,
But I'm not mad at Atlanta. The weather is better than a Vegas or Phoenix would be in July.
by far.
And I think it will also be, like you said, kind of a lot closer to people that the fans that are in the South that don't have a team to necessarily, identify with or cheer for. It's an easier commute for them as well. So I think I'm gonna hop on the bandwagon for Atlanta too, especially because they haven't hosted before. Why not? Like, I
I'm
agree.
just
So
saying. I'm
listen,
just
you guys.
saying.
I mean, it was an easy sway. And like you said, 3 of the last 5 years being in Vegas. Come on, we got to diversify it a little bit. And I also feel like, just from a monetary standpoint, because of Vegas and all the glitz and glamour, like people will automatically upcharge on everything just because it's Vegas. So from a monetary standpoint, I think Atlanta would probably be best as well. So all right, well we have a few months because Kathy hasn't announced yet officially, where it's gonna be. So maybe I know they read the timeline. It might not be her and it might not be her like in person, but her people definitely read the timeline. I'm
Yeah,
100%.
they
I'm
definitely
100.
know. They
Right, they're
definitely
definitely in
know.
the know. I'm 100% sure about that. So moving right along to just the dream overall, kind of talk to me about their recent road wins and just the success that they have, even with Ryan Howard unfortunately going out with injury.
Yeah, like you said, it's those wins in my mind were really impressive, right? You
Yeah,
don't have Ryan Howard, so and what most people don't realize is that Ryan does set the tone a lot for Atlanta. So
yeah.
even if I don't know, for example, like let's say Ryan is not the hot hand that starts, her defensive pressure usually opens things up, right? Her ability to kind of space the floor opens things up. So when you don't have that, you got to figure out what's going to work. And shout out to Carl Smesco because he figured it out after a couple of games. He's like, all right, I'm going to throw Maya Caldwell in the lineup for a little bit of length and size there. And then you got some really good contributions from Atlanta's bench the last couple of games.
Yeah.
So Shatori Walker-Kimbrough had back-to-back games of double-digit production, which has been really good to see from her. She had a very slow start to the season, is now kind of coming alive. And that's really what you need. So for Atlanta to go on the road, no less, to go beat Phoenix and go beat Minnesota, in my mind, those are really, really good wins because, you've probably seen me tweet it or you probably seen me say it, but I was a little like, what's happening, Atlanta? Like, I'm not quite sure who you are from game to game, which
Yes.
is unfortunate because you got a lot of talent on this
Yes.
roster and you want to separate yourselves, right? Like the most of the teams in the league, you kind of know where they stand. It's the Lynx, the Liberty, Phoenix, and then 4 and 5 have been Atlanta and Seattle trying to battle it out for who's going to be in that 4 spot. So I thought it was really good for Atlanta to get those back-to-back wins, considering they have somewhat of a tough schedule this week with I think 4 games in this week.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you needed those 2 wins before you come home. You play the Valkyries on Tuesday. You go to Dallas on Wednesday, come back, play Phoenix, and then you have another game on Sunday. Like, it's a lot. So they
Yes.
needed those for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna be honest. I thought the dream would look out of sorts or just out of sync without Ryan Howard being in the lineup. And I thought that for multiple reasons because they look inconsistent even when she's in the lineup at times. So I was very worried. But they actually have surprised me a lot and they're playing really good basketball. I think something that all fans can kind of point out is that in the fourth quarter, we have seen them crumble and fumble a win multiple
Oof.
times. And so for them, especially yesterday against Minnesota, like for them to, although they had a 14-point lead at one point in the game, and towards the end of the game, I'm sure a lot of Atlanta fans were getting nervous. Like, this is deja vu all over again. We've seen this story before, but it was just good seeing them actually execute to finish out the game against a very, very, very good Minnesota team. So they were 12-9. They were at 5th overall when Ryan Howard went down, and now they're 15-10. So since then, only really have lost one game. In that game, they could have actually won. And I think it starts with, like you said, I do like how he's changing the lineup and bringing more energy players in. Love Maya Caldwell's. I know she can score the basketball, but defensively, she's very special. She can pick you up 94 feet. I just love her energy every time she comes into the game. But more importantly, like, we have to talk about Alicia Gray. Like, what a hell of a season so far for her. Career season, actually, career highs. But I think it all kind of starts with her. And for anyone out there watching, Alicia Gray, WNBA, all WNBA first team. I don't like
Speak on it.
to me it's a no-brainer. And I know we're not all the way through the season yet, but I've seen enough. She's done enough to be on the first team in my opinion. And she's literally improved in each major statistical category: points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game. Even her shooting averages, she's shooting, the highest percent from the field and long distance. And so averaging 18 points per game, 5 boards, 3 assists, while shooting 44% from the field and 38% from long distance. And what impresses me the most, I like players that I like specific players that are like dogs and can play both ends of the floor. And that is her. A lot of players in today's game, no disrespect, but you don't really see too many wings that can play both ends of the floor. So she's not only going out there and being their number one option scoring wise while Ryan Howard is out, but she's also defending the best wing 9 times out of 10. So that alone, the cardio and the energy to just do that on both ends of the floor is amazing. Shout out to being in your 20s because you move a little different. But I was just looking at the stats and she's only scored single digits one time this year. She scored over 20 points 10 times in 10 games so far this year. So I know everyone says that Ryan Howard is the franchise player, and I'm not taking that away from her. But conversations will be had soon about 1A and 1B because they might be sharing that title now. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you know what? I was just having this conversation with another media member earlier today, and my thought process that I was explaining to her was like, I really go back and forth about who is the franchise player now. For a long time, it's been Ryan. Like that was pretty evident. That's your number one overall draft pick. Those sorts of things. You build this team around Ryan. But the way that Leash has come alive every season that she's been in Atlanta and then has, just obviously, like you said, career year this year, to me, it felt like Leash had become the engine. The dream go as Leash goes. And if Leash is not, popping off immediately, you kind of see everybody else is like, oh, shoot, what do we do? Like, we got to figure it out, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But to that point, like, Leash been phenomenal. I've been banging the table about Leash for several seasons now. So for everybody else that just got here, thank you for coming in to join what I've been seeing because you're definitely late. But to that point, like Leash, to me, when she gets on that court, there is zero fear in what she does.
Yeah.
Some of the shots that she takes, I'm like, whoop, because like it is. I mean, they're gutsy, but I think it's because she knows that she can play to that level. And so what I look forward to for the rest of the season and even into next season is just seeing her evolution continue. And I would also say that this was a hand in glove fit for Alicia Gray in Carl Smetsco's system. Like, and she even told us, earlier in the season that, hey, Carl told her it was going to be a big year, for her. And she was like, okay, Carl, like, I'm going to see what you're talking about. And it's just great to have someone believe in you before the season even gets started. That does a lot of confidence for her. So yeah, I think, you're going to start to see a lot more people have this conversation about who is 1A, 1B. But I would say this is what I always imagined. I think what would happen when Leash came to the Dream. You saw that instant chemistry with Ryan. And in my mind, I'm like, if we can get both of them going at the same time, that would be some phenomenal basketball.
Absolutely.
And I think this is the vision that I was kind of imagining, is that you've got Ryan, Leash, you've now got Jordan Canada, Bree Jones, Brittany Griner, all in this starting lineup, and then now your bench has come to play as well. Naz Hillman, Tahina Powell, Shatori Walker-Kimbrough is coming, like Nia Coffey. I could keep going, but to that point, everyone has been gelling because these players have been playing with a lot more confidence, playing in a system that suits them well, and they're playing a lot more free, and you love to see it.
I agree. It's a very talented team, and I don't think people are giving Carl enough credit for what he's doing in Atlanta, especially his first season. A lot of fans are very difficult and hard on coaches initially in their first seasons. We see that with Tyler in Chicago. We see that a little bit with Lynn out there in LA. But I don't think enough people are giving credit where credit is due when coaches are actually doing pretty well. And so my question to you is, what's the biggest difference between the team this year versus last year, just from your opinion? Because you covered, you were able to cover both teams with different coaches and different coaching staff in general, also different players as well.
Yeah, I would say that they bought in really early. They were completely sold on Carl. And I think the thing is they were open to being stretched growth wise. So you got people shooting out on the perimeter, that 5 out, offense. Your bigs are willing to do that. And not only that, like a lot of people probably may not realize this if they haven't been at training camp or just just kind of paying attention to the tea leaves. But Brittany Griner's leadership made a big difference, for this team. So from early in training camp, if BG is speaking, the whole entire arena is silent. At training camp. And you'll see her all the time on the bench, pouring into the players next to her. You'll see her, speaking up and advocating for her teammates. And that to me said a lot of volume. Or it spoke volumes, excuse me. And I think that kind of permeated throughout the team. And I would say this, they had so much confidence coming in because everything was brand new. It's like, well, shoot, we're going to try it because it's brand new. And I think I really admired that Carl was like, I don't care if you miss. I just want you to keep shooting. Right. Like he really was like, hey, I want us to try here because if we don't try, that's where we get ourselves in trouble. And I think that's the thing. Atlanta had to adapt and evolve because they weren't going to get to what they were now, which is last training camp. They were like, hey, we want to be a top 4 team. And you saw small flashes of that like last season, but you didn't see that on a consistent enough basis. And it just got them in trouble last season towards the back half of that. So I really think that this season it started with leadership. I really think it started with buying in. And then more importantly, like, hey, once you got the leadership, once you got the buy-in, now it's just time to play. You get to play free. And I think a lot of players would tell you that they have loved being able to do that. So I think honestly, like Atlanta, I already said it at the beginning of the season. I think Atlanta is going to be a playoff team. I don't think that is without question, but I think then you get the question of how far do they go? And I don't know that answer quite yet. I think it's still a little too early to kind of predict just how far they'll go, but Atlanta has a type of talent, I believe, that could take them as far as the finals. And I know that sounds like ridiculous because you've got the Lynx and the Liberty and those sorts of things. But like when Atlanta is playing well, they can hang with anybody, as we just saw, the last couple of games. So would love to see that whenever that happens, either this season or next season or whatnot for them. I definitely think that they've got something special here.
And I actually don't think that's a crazy take, to be honest, because you're right. They do have the talent to do so. And to be quite honest, I think that we haven't even seen Atlanta at their best because it hasn't been many games where Ryan and Alicia Gray are going off in the same game. It's usually one, having a great game and the other one's having subpar average. They're both not, being the elite scores that we know they both can be. So I've been saying all year, I just can't wait until they consistently are on the same page in regards to both having good games at once. And so since we haven't seen that yet and they're playing at such a high level now, I mean, anything can happen. That's not far-fetched to me, to be honest. I didn't think Atlanta would be this good coming into the year. I thought that they would be a playoff team. But they're looking like one of the top 4 teams in the league at this point in time. And even though they have been inconsistent throughout the year, I think that you can see spurts of them playing really, really well. And if they're able to put that together for 40 minutes, like it's a very, very dangerous team. And so while we're talking about Atlanta, talk to me a little bit about just the rookie Pow and her impact on the team. You get to see the ins and outs of, the day-to-day with them. Just talk to me about how she kind of fits seamlessly into what they're trying to do and just her impact on an overall team.
Yeah. So first of all, let me say that Pow is a character at all times, like just a complete character. Always smiling, always happy. I talked to her earlier in the season and she said she loves to be the annoying little sister to, to her teammates. And you could just tell she deeply enjoys being here. And I think that, again, that as cliche as it sounds, I think that makes a big difference in how well a player integrates. And I think that's the other thing. She came into a system that suits her. She led the country in 3-point shooting percentage the year that South Carolina won the title. And I think a lot of people forgot that because South Carolina had, quote, a down year last year, right? So you forget just how lethal Pow can be from beyond that line. But not only that, like she came in with zero fear, especially when Jordan Canada went down with an injury. And boom, here you are. There's your starting point guard right there as a rookie. And Powell handled it gracefully, honestly. She just, I think for her, like, she just had to know that she could do it, right? Like, I think she shook whatever, if there was any sort of nerves, she shook it off probably in those first couple of preseason games. Was like, okay, I'm ready to go. And I felt that when there was a preseason game against the Fever and Caitlin Clark hit a nasty three, like right in her face. And she came back and like nailed another one on the other end. And we asked her about it. And she's like, oh no, I had to get my get back. And she's like, I'm just glad my teammates supported me, which I was like, okay, so this girl is like ready to go.
Right.
She's like, I don't care who you are. Like the buckets will be had. So in my opinion, that to me spoke volumes for her, and just the ability that she to the ability of things that she was going to do this season. And I think also she's accepted her role, whether that's going to be in the starting lineup or whether it's off the bench. Pau is an energy shifter.
Yeah.
I always joke all the time about how I feel like Carl Smesko deploys her like a little Swiss Army knife, because, you know, you'll see it in games where he's like, okay, get me Pau, get me Nas. And, you know, and they'll both come in and automatically the ball is moving, buckets are going in, defensive pressure. Like, I really appreciate her all around game as a rookie. And it's something that you just don't see in a lot of rookies, that they come ready.
Yes.
And I know that sounds wild to say, but like a lot of this is very overwhelming for a lot of rookies, and it can take them some time to adjust. So for Pau to come in and immediately have an impact, like Atlanta doesn't win some of its early games without the impact of Te-Hina Paopao. And I don't think that can be like stated enough.
I agree. And that's why I chuckle when people say that Dawn can't develop guards. Like, that's what I chuckle, because it's like, come on, Alicia Gray she's right there. You don't have to look too far. She's right there, right? So I think, to be honest, I think that additional year that Pau took and stayed at South Carolina, you could see from game one, literally game one versus whatever team they were playing, you could see her driving to the basket more. You can see her being more intentional on defense. So the things that she knew she would have to do at the next level, you could see her implementing that, because the year before that, you know, we knew Pau is just someone that could just flat out shoot the basketball. She was shooting over 50% from long distance. So that's, you know, that's the part of her game that everyone knew. And so when she came in last year with South Carolina, and I think the first time she touched the ball, she took someone off the dribble and like hit a floater. And I'm like, what? Like, she's really been, you know, she's really been working on her game. And so I love to see it. I love that she ended up in the right spot. It was the perfect fit for them. And so I'm glad to see her success. Someone else that has kind of stood out for me this year is Naz Hillman. She's played great minutes for Atlanta. Talk to me a little bit about Naz Hillman and her impact so far this season.
Man, you're gonna make me start a sermon here. I am a huge fan of Naz Hillman's game. She is a quiet force, and I say that with the utmost respect, because you turn that film on and Naz is cleaning up stuff all over the place. There is her crashing the glass. There is her cutting off lanes. There's her forcing turnovers. I mean, it is just phenomenal to go out and watch her work. And now she's added this 3-ball to her, you know, to her arsenal. And it's just, I mean, it's just fantastic to see her come out of her shell a little bit more. Naz, to me, has always had a quiet confidence about her, but like this season is, and I've said it, like if she's not on your 6th player of the year list, like please put her on and do it immediately.
Yeah.
Because missing out on some really good quality basketball. And I think for her, like, it's just great to see her find a system that fits, that works. And I think I see that comment, Naz Hillman is a shooter now. Yes. I think she's always been a shooter, but I think it's the confidence that is the difference there, right? Like, there would be times last year where you would see you know, the Naz would be wide open and she would pass up that ball because she's like, nope.
And I think it's also a little bit of coaching, because he wants everyone to shoot. You know,
correct.
So it's a little bit easier when your coach is giving you a green light. Literally everyone on the team pretty much a green light to shoot. But I didn't mean to cut you off, but I agree with everything you're saying about Naz.
No, I want more people to talk about Naz, because I obviously have a front row seat because I'm here in Atlanta, but I think for her, like, she is one of those, like, the nickname for her is kind of the Iron Woman, because Naz holds now the consecutive record for most games in franchise history, because the best availability is availability. So, absolutely. And Naz is there all the time. Yeah. So I just, huge fan of her game. Great that other people are finally realizing it as well. And I'll say this, I think having covered this team for the last like 3 seasons, I've seen a lot of talent come through, a lot of talent, you know, be on the roster. And it's interesting to me to see that even though I thought Naz was a consistent force, she has continued to grow and take that leap this year. And that, I mean, again, Nas hitting 3 balls is I'll take it. I'll take it all day.
I agree. I think for me, the main thing that sticks out is just the constant energy that she plays with. She just plays hard for
For sure.
the minutes that she's given. You know what you're going to get out of her. She's going to get you offensive rebounds so that you have a second chance at scoring. She's going to defend. And so now stepping out and adding the 3-point shot and being a little bit more consistent with it, like I really love that for her. Like she's really doing her biggest one. And I think we all just can see, even through the TV, you can see just the camaraderie that they have going on. And people don't talk about that enough. Like for a basketball team, that is very, very important. Having relationships like off of the court also kind of leaks into, how you play on the court and the chemistry on the court. So I personally see a difference just in the camaraderie this year. And the last player I'm going to ask you about for Atlanta, and we'll kind of go back to pitching this all-star thing, is just Jordan Canada. I thought she would be imperative in regards to her coming back and getting healthy, because not only can she score the basketball when needed, she sets people up well. She's just a good point guard. And then she also can guard you 94 feet as well. So I'm a huge Jordan Canada fan just because she plays both ends of the floor, like I told you earlier. But just give me your thoughts on Jordan Canada being back and healthy and kind of settling in, because when she first came back, it was a little rough. It looked a little rough. I'm not going to lie. She had to get her feet wet again and again. I think people don't understand that although you're replicating like the game, whether you're doing cardio or even in practice, it's not the same as when you're actually playing a 40-minute game, a professional game.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And to that point, when Jordan came back, yeah, she kind of admitted, yeah, it took me a second to get my feet underneath me. But one thing that the players also said in multiple press conferences was, "Hey, we got your back. You take as long as you need to." They weren't going to rush her into getting back, quote unquote, to form, which I thought was really, really great to see. The whole team was behind her, and that did a lot of confidence for her. You could slowly see her, kind of find her shot again, find her confidence again. But that's the thing about Jordan, like, you knew the buckets were going to come. That was never the issue, right? Like the buckets are going to come. But I think she was also finding her way. She's always been a defensive pest. Like for as small as she is, she's often the smallest player on the court, but she is a pest. It does not matter how tall you are, how big you are. Like Jordan is going to guard you with everything in her. And I really appreciated that about her, because that allowed other things to slowly develop and come alive. One of the things that I really like for her is the ability to, of course, feed her bigs. That's something that I was concerned about when they first brought on Brittany Griner and Bree Jones. I was like, how in the world is this going to work with both of them like in the paint? Like what? But Atlanta has figured out a way to spread the floor and a way to, of course, Jordan Canada and Bree Jones have this great synergy going on. And a lot of people may not see that a lot, but she often feeds Bree Jones right underneath the basket, and it goes back and forth. They feed each other. And now she's slowly coming out. In the last couple of games, Brittany Griner has really come alive, and now a lot of it's been because Jordan Canada has been finding her. So I think it's just really good to see Jordan kind of say, okay, I don't have to score 15, 20, whatever, plus points or whatever else. Like I can be efficient. I can have, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out, but like I can have 10 points and I have 8 assists, and that's fine, right? And I think for Atlanta, you don't necessarily need her to be this big volume shooter. Jordan hasn't necessarily been a volume shooter, but she's practical with the way that she attacks things, which I really appreciate. And I think for her, realizing that also sets the tone for anyone who's going to play point behind her, right? When Pow Pow comes in, or anybody else, is going to play the point, when Leisha, Ryan kind of take over those responsibilities as well. Atlanta has figured out Jordan kind of sets the tone from how we want the offense to flow, that sort of thing, and we take her lead. It was really good to see her, find her groove. And I think I'm going to say this because I don't think a lot of people realize, but Jordan Canada really cares about basketball. And I know, again, all basketball players should. But I remember being in a press conference and we're asking questions, that sort of thing, and, trying to lighten the mood because they had, it was a tough loss that they had. And, asking Jordan Canada, she was like, no, I just need to be better. and like said it,
I like that though.
said it so flat, like no emotions or anything else like that. She was like, I don't need to turn the ball over. I need to stop fouling. Like she kept going. And in my mind, I said, that's someone who is meticulous about what they do, right? And Jordan
Absolutely.
wasn't going to let it go. And so in my mind, I was like, ooh, okay. So this isn't one of those like, okay, like, hey, we can kind of gloss over it. You could tell that she was going to be stewing on it until she felt like she had gotten better, which you appreciate that, on any day. So yeah, Jordan Canada is I think a really great point guard for Atlanta, and I'm still excited to see what she continues to do for the rest of the season.
I agree. When they added her to the roster, I was like, okay, now I can see this being like I don't want to say a serious team, but like a team that could actually contend for a championship because I think that point guard piece was missing. And we
For
see it
sure.
often in the WNBA, even though it's at a professional level, we see it often with a lot of guards having difficulty doing a post entry pass. And so, I automatically knew when Jordan Canada got there, that's something that they didn't have to worry about. I knew Bree Jones would get her touches as well as BG would get her touches. So it's good to see her, kind of settling in and playing her game. And like you said, they don't necessarily need her to score. Now, on days where they do need her to score, we see like the other day when she had that absolute masterclass, they needed her to score and
Yeah.
she was cooking. She was not missing anything. So she has the capability to get off and go for 15, 20 points, but it takes a special player to understand what your team needs from you in that moment. Like a lot of people want to score because that's all people typically care about nowadays. It's sad, but
Mhm.
that's all people typically care. How many points did you score? But it's like the little things, setting up BG so she can get enough touches so she feels involved in the offense. Because when you set up your bigs, guess what? When you set them up early and often, they're going to play harder. That's just a fact. They're going to play harder
Mhm.
throughout the game, right? They're getting pushed and bumped around. And if you're not feeding them, why am I just out here getting pushed and bumped around without touching the ball a little bit? So um I think that she's great for them. But kind of going back to let's talk a little bit about expansion drafts. A lot of people or just team expansions, a lot of people were a little concerned that the WNBA didn't get a team in the South. So what are your
Mhm.
thoughts on that? Especially technically kind of living in the South technically. So, what are your thoughts on that? And do you think bringing something like All Star Weekend to Atlanta, do you think that will kind of help propel or help owners see that, hey, it's a need and it's a want for these teams to be in the South, like bringing Houston back or even the Charlotte Sting, something like that?
Yeah, so a couple things. I'm going to be very biased here because I was born in Houston. I'm from
Okay.
Texas. My family
Okay.
still lives there. So yeah, very much on the like, hey, Houston needs a team sort of boat. And I'll also say this. We asked several players at All-Star Weekend where they thought a team should be, and the top answers were Miami,
Of course.
Houston, and then of course Charlotte was in there as well. But those teams were really just top of mind. And I think it's because they realized, like, yeah, I would love to have a team in the South. And I think here's the
Mm-hmm.
other thing, like, the biggest thing right now with expansion is, does a team have NBA ownership backing, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
not all the expansion teams do, but quite a few of them do have that NBA ownership backing. And Kathy Engelbert said, hey, keep your eye on Houston. Like, obviously they're still in conversations, that sort of thing of happening. So it really makes me think, what's the realistic like chances of Houston getting a team now? Because right now you're pretty much booked until 2030. So
Yeah.
at this point, like it's not going to happen till after then. And so it makes me think, okay, well, what can we have in between then to make a case for something in the
Let's
South?
talk about it.
So my thinking was, all right, well, obviously bias aside of me living here, like having the All-Star be here in Atlanta would at least give you a good indication of, can the South handle again an additional sort of, presence for the WNBA. And I think Atlanta does make a good case for that. I think the other thing is, you got to realize is like there's a big chunk of the country that lives in this region, and Atlanta is the only place where they can really go unless they want to go west and they want to go out to Dallas. And so, again, there's nothing wrong with that, but you got a lot of fans who are like, okay, great. If I want to go see my favorite team, I got to go to Atlanta. For example, when Angel Reese comes here, you get a lot of LSU fans. When it's Asia Wilson that comes here, or Don, Don Staley's going to show up to a game, it's all the South
Yeah.
Carolina fans. They're
Yeah.
coming here. So it would be great to see if you can fill those gaps again in those major cities. But I do think having All-Star here kind of says, all right, so we know you got your eye on us. Let us show you what we can do. And here's the thing, Atlanta's got plenty of infrastructure. There's plenty of hotels. There's plenty of restaurants. There's plenty of big convention centers. Like, there's a lot of resources here.
Right.
So I'm not just throwing this out here because I live here, but I'm just throwing it out and saying, like, hey, if you want to host a major event here, we've had several here. I mean, you've got World Cup games happening here too. Like, Atlanta is it's primed to host these big events. So I just think that, like, this is a good time when you've got interest in expansion, you've got interest in, in the South, and people wanting it to actually be here. So I don't know. Will this work? Will my pleas work? I'm not sure. KDOT's been like tweeting every
Yes.
day in support. And first of all, I appreciate you so much for that. But yeah, I don't know. If something comes of this, 100% I will give credit to KDOT for like pushing the agenda, because in my mind, it was just a conversation I had with Zach Draves at All-Star.
Right.
And I tweeted it as well. But like, that was like, all right, well, hey, somebody will see it and maybe something will come of it. But KDOT was like, oh no, I'm fully on the train
Right.
here, like, and I'm pushing the agenda. So we'll fully give 9450 the credit you guys deserve for pushing this agenda. Because yeah, I think you're right. Like, and if I can get other people on board, by all means, please, everybody come help. Because listen, Las Vegas, I love you dearly. I really do. You're a fantastic city. But I think Las Vegas in July, I just might cry. 115 degrees every day out there. And again, it's been there several years. Like, we need something new. Let us come feed you. Come hang out. I mean, I could basically go home every night.
Right. You don't have to pay for
from All-Star. I mean, listen, I hey, I appreciate a good hotel just like the next person, because it means I don't have, I'm sorry, my husband, if you're listening to this, but a snoring husband. I don't have, children that are like, Mom, I don't have the dog. Seconds. Like, yeah, I don't have any of that, which is fantastic. But like, if I could drive myself home every night and kind of be, somewhat an ambassador to this All-Star event, by all means, sign me up. I will come and help.
I mean, I think you make a great point about the infrastructure already being there. So it's not like they're creating, a facility or something for the women to play in. And for God's sake, they had the Olympics in Atlanta before. So if you can have the Olympics, I'm pretty sure you can host WNBA All-Star Weekend.
Light. It's just something light.
Right, very light. So just one final question about just possibly WNBA All-Star Weekend being there. If Atlanta is chosen to host, how can this choice amplify messaging about visibility, equality, and overall progress just with through the WNBA?
Yeah, wow. That's a fantastic question. I think one of the things that like Atlanta has been known for is a culture shifter. Being a culture shifter. And when I say that, I think about this was a couple of years ago now, but quite literally flipping a Senate seat. And so what that means is, it started here in Atlanta with, hey, we have a message that we want to send, and we want to send it very clearly. And you think about the juxtaposition of players walking out in Vote Warnock shirts, and you have a co-owner on the Dream who was quite literally a senator at that point. And that is, okay, listen, we want you to pay attention to the things that are important to us, right? And that is making sure our voices are heard. That's making sure that we're valued. We're making sure that we're seen. And I think Atlanta has become a mecca, so to speak, for that, in supporting sports, but also supporting women here. Like, come to a Dream game at any point and you will see just how much this arena loves these players, loves the city. And it's not just the Atlanta players, it's anybody, any team that comes here, whether that game is at Gateway or whether that game is at State Farm. I thought it was very poignant. This was probably earlier in the season. Play Society did a custom court here in Atlanta at State Farm. And it's, pay some respect to women's sports. And in my mind, seeing that on the court while you've got not only the Dream, but you've got the Fever there as well. Some of the biggest, names in the WNBA and current, past, present, everybody on this court. The the storylines there were like, whoo, this is deep history. This is the Olympics here. This is, quite literally changing history here. So I think for me, it's more of a like, hey, you can build on this culture here that has been brewing for quite some time. And what is it? What are the lyrics? The South has something to say. I mean, that's something. I heard something like that a while ago.
Or whatever they say.
Whatever the kids said. But that is kind of where I'm at now, is like, hey, at least give Atlanta the chance here to kind of show what they can do and what women's basketball in general means to the city. So that's my pitch. Hey, again, I will give you guys full credit if anything comes of this. I don't take all the credit for it, because it was just an idea, but I like the fact of, like, if I can put an idea out into the universe and have people buy into that, I feel like I've at least done something right for my job, right? And I think that, and shout out to K-Dot, because he kind of unlocked this whole like deep dive on this concept, and it really got me thinking. I was like, well, what did I tweet? Like, what was I unlocking? But no, I think I was actually tweeting more than I really thought about it, more than I really, I guess, intended to at the time. But I'm glad that I like opened my mind to it, because yeah, you're right. There's a whole lot there, and I think I was probably subtly saying it without actually saying it out loud once
Absolutely.
my subconscious processed it.
Absolutely. Do you think there's anything fans or just listeners can do to kind of support the idea of pushing it to the forefront of possibly having All-Star Weekend in Atlanta?
If you just start subtly leaving ATL everywhere, I just saying.
What do they say? I'm so ATL, right?
Hello. I'm so ATL. Yes,
Right.
thank you.
Yes.
But no, honestly, I think fans have a really good opportunity to kind of voice their opinions. Like, the W is in such a interesting space right now where everything is shifting. The amount of eyeballs on the league are shifting. They're expanding. They're putting pressure on the league. Like, we just saw it at All-Star. Players came out in shirts, pay us what you owe us, sort of thing. And then you've got fans chanting in the arena, pay them. So, I mean, if fans can, if fans can get behind things, I think that would change things as well. So if there's any fans that are listening, yeah, please believe me. If you've got Atlanta in your heart, or you're like, yes, I just want to go to Atlanta, I think this is fantastic. Yeah, start leaving ATL everywhere. And yeah, let's get this thing going.
All right. This question is to the fans. You guys can tweet us, email us, all of that good stuff. Would you guys actually support a 2026 All-Star Weekend in Atlanta? And apparently we have a hashtag here, hashtag All-Star in ATL. so that is the new hashtag. Before we got it here, we have to give a shout out to our sponsor, SeatGeek. You can use code 9450 for $20 off your ticket purchases. And then we also have to shout out Welsh Mode Coffee, bold flavor, bold ideas, fuel your fandom. Thank you, Meghan, of course, for taking a little bit of time out and hanging out with us, talking about everything ATL related, and also just furthering this pitch for All-Star Weekend in Atlanta. Do you have anything going on? Do you want to shout anything out? Where can they find you? All of that good stuff.
Yeah, first of all, let me say thank you so much for the consideration just to have me on. You guys do fantastic work, and so I always appreciate the opportunity just to come in and chop it up with y'all. So for sure, keep doing the things that you are. You are movers and shakers in the space. So for sure, have a lot of respect from my end. I would say I don't think I'm doing anything major. I'm gonna knock on every piece of wood, just because I just did All-Star. Like, give me a second. That is major. Like, just give me a second here to catch my breath a little bit. But yeah, I would say other than that, yeah, you can find my work on two places actually. So I've started doing a lot more columns for the USA Today main site. Okay. So that's just usatoday.com. You'll find my work there. And then also, if you follow For the Win, that's ftw.usatoday.com. My work is there as well. On socials, I think on everything, it's ITS Meghan with an H because I'm a little fancy. And then L Hall. So it's Meghan L Hall on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on Threads, on TikTok, because now I'm starting to get on there. I feel like a boomer, side note, by the way, trying to be on TikTok.
Me too.
But yeah, on there as well. And yeah, my hope is just to continue, one, talking about All-Star, but two, just continue with the season and sharing my takes and answering questions and just educating as much as I can.
Absolutely. And y'all know where to find me. Lolo Bike on Twitter, Hoops with Lo on TikTok. Follow the 9450 on all streaming platforms. The 9450 on Twitter, the 9450 on YouTube, at the 9450 underscore on Instagram. We're on Patreon. We're all over the place. So just follow us at the 9450. If you just type that in, I'm sure you can find us. Thank you once again, Meghan, for allowing us to have this conversation with you. And I guess we will see each other in 2026 at All-Star Weekend in Atlanta.
Of course,
all right,
of course.
y'all.
Gotta put it in the universe.
Right. Love is love. Y'all have a good night. K-Dot.